subscribe button like this video and drop a comment to let me know your thoughts. It means the world to me, and I'm so grateful for every one of you. Today we're unraveling a heartbreaking and perplexing case that shook a community and exposed layers of secrecy, corruption, and unanswered questions. Let's dive into the tragic story of Angela Aguirre. On a warm spring evening in 2019, 16-year-old Angela Aguirre left her family's cozy home with a promise to return by nightfall. She was headed to what she described as a small, safe gathering with friends, a celebration that should have been filled with laughter and carefree moments. Her parents, trusting their daughter's judgment, waved her off, unaware that this would be the last time they'd see her alive. As the hours ticked by, Angela's phone stopped responding. Calls went unanswered, texts unread. The friends she was supposed to be with offered vague, conflicting stories, some acting as though nothing was amiss, while others seemed to be hiding something sinister. By the time the clock struck midnight, Angela's parents received a cryptic phone call that shattered their world. The explanation they were given about their daughter's whereabouts only deepened the mystery. Details didn't add up, accounts clashed, and every new piece of information seemed to contradict the last. Those who had spent the evening with Angela stumbled over their words. Some said too little, others too much, as if trying to cover their tracks. What had happened to Angela? Why hadn't anyone raised the alarm when she vanished? And what were the people around her so desperate to conceal? This case is a labyrinth of contradictions, where every answer spawns more questions. Join me as we peel back the layers of this haunting mystery, exploring the life of a vibrant young girl, the events of that fateful night, and the fight for justice that continues to this day. Angela Aguirre was born in 2002 into a tight-knit, loving family in Venezuela. Her parents, Daniel Aguirre and Isabel Garcia, worked tirelessly to provide a nurturing environment for Angela and her older sister Natalie. Daniel, an engineer at a government firm, was a disciplined yet compassionate father who always put his family first. Isabel, a talented hairstylist, ran a small salon out of their home, filling the space with the hum of hairdryers, the chatter of clients, and the warmth of her infectious laughter. Their modest home was a hub of activity, where neighbors dropped by for a trim, friends gathered to gossip, and the aroma of home-cooked meals lingered in the air. Angela and Natalie were inseparable, sharing secrets, dreams, and late-night conversations about their futures. Natalie, 2 years older, was Angela's confidant and role model, guiding her through the ups and downs of teenage life. Angela was a bright, energetic soul with a contagious smile. She had a knack for making people feel at ease, her natural charm drawing friends like moths to a flame. At school, she was known for her kindness and quick wit, always ready with a joke to lighten the mood or a kind word to lift someone's spirits. In her free time, Angela loved helping her mother in the salon, where she'd experiment with makeup, craft intricate nail designs, or style her friends' hair. Her creativity shone through in every bold eyeshadow palette she tried or delicate manicure she perfected. She'd often spend hours perfecting a new look, her friends marveling at her skill. Beyond her love for beauty, Angela was a dreamer. She'd sit with Natalie on their porch, gazing at the stars, talking about her ambitions. Maybe she'd become a makeup artist, a businesswoman, or even travel the world. Her parents instilled in her the values of hard work, empathy, and community, and their home was a sanctuary where everyone felt welcome. No one could have predicted that this vibrant, joyful world would soon be torn apart by an unimaginable tragedy. Jose Alberto Chido came from a world far removed from Angela's. Born into wealth, his father was a successful businessman, and his mother moved in elite social circles, granting Jose access to a life of privilege. Expensive cars, exclusive club memberships, and lavish vacations were his norm, a stark contrast to Angela's grounded upbringing. The two met through mutual friends about 3 years before the tragedy, their social circles overlapping at parties and gatherings. At first, Angela saw him as just another friend, someone to laugh with in a group setting. But Jose had other intentions. Jose was persistent, his attention toward Angela bordering on obsessive. He'd send her constant messages, invite her to hang out, and find excuses to be near her. Angela, however, wasn't interested. She valued their friendship but made it clear she didn't see him romantically. Her friends knew Jose had asked her out multiple times, only to be gently turned down. Yet, his pursuit didn't waver, and, over time, Angela grew uneasy. One incident in particular marked a turning point. At a poolside gathering, friends playfully pushed Angela into the water, leaving her soaked. Jose offered to help her find dry clothes, but suggested they go somewhere private, his tone implying more than friendship. Angela firmly declined, and, from that moment, she began keeping her distance. She confided in her closest friends about Jose's persistence, admitting that his behavior made her uncomfortable. They advised her to brush it off, assuring her he'd eventually move on. But Angela wasn't so sure. Despite her reservations, their overlapping social circles made it nearly impossible to avoid him entirely. She remained polite but guarded, unaware that her decision to stay in contact would lead her to a night that would change everything. March 23, 2019 began like any other day for Angela. She woke up buzzing with excitement, eager to attend her best friend's birthday party. She'd spent days planning her outfit and talking about the event with her friends. But when she approached her parents for permission, they delivered a firm no. The party was in a neighborhood they deemed unsafe, and Daniel and Isabel weren't willing to take the risk. Angela pleaded, offering to be driven there and back, but her parents held their ground. Disappointed, she retreated to her room, venting to her friends via text about her parents' strict rules. That same morning, a message from Jose Alberto popped up on her phone. It was his birthday too, and he was hosting a celebration. He invited Angela to join him, first at an upscale private club and then at Larea Island, a secluded spot accessible only by boat. The island was infamous for its exclusive no-rules parties, a playground for the wealthy and well-connected. Angela hesitated. After being denied the chance to attend her friend's party, this was an opportunity to salvage her evening. But she knew her parents would never approve of a trip to an island. Torn between her desire to socialize and her loyalty to her parents, she made a fateful decision. She'd go, but keep the island part a secret. That evening, Angela stood before her mirror, carefully selecting her outfit. She tried on a flowing dress but opted for something more practical. Denim shorts, a breezy blouse, and sandals. Perfect for a night outdoors. She braided her hair tightly, applied a touch of mascara and lip gloss, and smiled at her reflection, unaware of the danger awaiting her. When she spoke to her parents, she spun a careful story, assuring them the party was at a safe venue with an adult chaperone, a relative of the host. She emphasized it was a small, private event, nothing to worry about. Her parents, reluctant, after denying her earlier request, didn't want to stifle her social life. They knew Jose and trusted Angela's judgment. After a tense discussion, Daniel relented, setting strict rules. No drinking, regular check-ins, and home by 8 p.m. as the sun dipped below the horizon. Angela's father drove her to the private club, the car filled with a heavy silence. Before she stepped out, Daniel issued a final warning. "If anything feels wrong, call me right away." Angela nodded, kissed his cheek, and joined the small group waiting outside. Moments later, Jose arrived, flashing a confident smile and greeting Angela without acknowledging her father. As Daniel watched his daughter walk away, a pang of unease settled in his chest. It was the last time he'd see her alive. Outside the club, Jose wasted no time. He announced that the real party was on Larea Island, a remote spot in the Caroni River, reachable only by boat. He painted a picture of an exclusive, carefree night with trusted friends, assuring Angela it was safe. The group was already waiting, he said, and the boat was ready to go. Angela, caught up in the excitement and reluctant to be left behind, agreed to join them. The decision felt spontaneous, but in hindsight, it was a step into the unknown. The boat, owned by Jose's godfather, Jose Zorrilla, was waiting at the dock. Zorrilla, a wealthy businessman in his late 40s, was known for hosting extravagant parties and mingling with younger crowds. On board were his son Bloomberg, Bloomberg's girlfriend Jocelyn Barrero, and two family friends, Orlando Salazar and Wilmer Diaz. all significantly older than Angela. As the boat glided away from the city, the passengers laughed, passed around bottles of liquor, and speculated about the night ahead. The city lights faded, replaced by the dark, rippling waters of the river. Laria Island was a hedonist's paradise. Tucked away from prying eyes, it was a haven for wild, unregulated parties. Temporary setups included a bar stocked with premium alcohol, a dance floor pulsing with music, and lounge areas draped in fairy lights. The air was thick with the scent of tobacco, perfume, and spilled drinks. When the group arrived, the party was already in full swing. Dozens of guests danced, drank, and mingled, the music so loud it drowned out the river's gentle lapping. Angela, initially overwhelmed, was swept into the chaos, her hesitations melting under the pressure to fit in. Drinks flowed freely, glasses refilled without question. Angela, surrounded by unfamiliar faces, found herself pulled into conversations, toasts, and dances. Jose stayed close, his presence inescapable. He offered her drinks, engaged her in constant chatter, and ensured she was never alone. As the night wore on, the party grew wilder. Guests stumbled, laughed hysterically, or wandered off into the shadows. The island, with no permanent structures or oversight, was a lawless playground where anything could happen, and no one was watching. By midnight, the party was a blur of noise and motion. Angela was last seen moving between the dance floor, the bar, and the shoreline, socializing and sipping drinks. Then, without warning, she vanished. Some guests later claimed she might have stepped away for a quiet moment by the water, a common occurrence at such chaotic events. No one thought much of it at the time. People were too drunk, too distracted, or too indifferent to notice. Her phone, once active with texts, went silent, but no one bothered to check on her. As the hours passed, the party began to wind down. The music softened, guests grew weary, and the crowd thinned. It was only then that someone noticed Angela was gone. But instead of raising the alarm, the remaining guests shrugged it off. Some assumed she'd left early, perhaps catching a boat back with another group. Others didn't care enough to question it. No one searched the island, called her name, or texted her. The group, including Jose and his inner circle, boarded the boat and left the island behind, the dark waters swallowing any trace of Angela. Back at home, Angela's parents grew increasingly anxious as 8 p.m. came and went. Daniel drove to the club expecting to pick up his daughter, but she wasn't there. He called her repeatedly, each unanswered ring tightening the knot in his stomach. After 30 minutes, he contacted Isabel, who confirmed Angela hadn't reached out. Panic set in. They called her friends, only to learn that no one had seen her at the club. The realization hit hard. Angela had lied about her plans. Desperate, they reached out to other party guests, but the responses were evasive or non-existent. At 2 a.m., their phone rang. It was Jose's mother, her voice trembling as she delivered a devastating blow. She fell off the boat. The words didn't make sense. Angela had said she was at a club. How could she be on a boat? The call offered no clarity, only vague assurances that left Daniel and Isabel reeling. Why hadn't anyone called sooner? If Angela had fallen into the water, why wasn't anyone looking for her? Refusing to wait, the Agiras sprang into action. At 4 a.m., they stormed the police station, demanding a search. But the officers were dismissive, citing a 72-hour waiting period before a missing persons case could be opened. They suggested Angela might be out having fun, her phone dead or forgotten. Furious, Daniel confronted Jose's family, but their answers were maddeningly vague. Isabel turned to social media, posting Angela's photo and a plea for information. The posts spread like wildfire, drawing tips from strangers who recalled seeing a girl matching Angela's description on the island. By dawn, the Agiras organized a volunteer search along the riverbanks, their hope dwindling with each passing hour. The police, under mounting public pressure, finally joined the effort, but their lack of urgency was palpable. The family's worst fears were confirmed on March 26th, when fishermen found a body tangled in branches upstream, miles from where Angela supposedly fell. It was Angela, still wearing a life jacket and wetsuit, her face bruised and lifeless. The initial forensic report was damning. Angela's body bore signs of severe trauma, bruises and lacerations on her head and face, suggesting blunt force impact. The cause of death was asphyxiation due to drowning, but she was likely unconscious before entering the water. The findings raised chilling questions. How could she drown in a life jacket? Why was her body found upstream, defying the river's current? The evidence pointed to foul play, not an accident. But just days later, a second report surfaced contradicting the first. It claimed Angela's injuries were caused by rocks in the water, her life jacket had malfunctioned, and her death was a tragic accident. The Aguirres were outraged. How could two reports differ so drastically? They accused the authorities of corruption, suspecting powerful figures were protecting the guilty. Social media exploded with hashtags like "Danairwan Justice for Angela" as the public demanded answers. Independent journalists uncovered evidence of bribery, alleged offers of $100,000 in gold to close the case. Protests erupted, both online and in the streets, as Angela's case became a symbol of systemic corruption. The Aguirres pushed for an independent investigation, but their pleas were ignored. After months of public outcry, the case went to trial, but it was held behind closed doors. The Aguirres, journalists, and activists were barred from attending. The family faced threats, anonymous calls, menacing messages, and strangers lurking near their home. In the end, Jose Alberto Chito and Jose Zorrilla were sentenced to 29 years for aggression and criminal actions. Shockingly, every other guest was acquitted, despite their failure to act when Angela disappeared. The verdict was a hollow victory. The Aguirres appealed, demanding a new investigation, but the courts refused. Key evidence vanished, witness statements were inconsistent, and the truth remained buried. Why was Angela's body found upstream? Who caused her injuries? Why didn't her friends search for her? These questions haunt the Aguirres to this day. Angela Aguirre's story is more than a tragedy. It's a call to action. Her parents continue their fight, not just for their daughter, but for countless others silenced by corruption. Thank you for watching this deep dive into a case that demands justice. Your support keeps these stories alive. Please like, comment, and share to spread Angela's story. Hit subscribe for more true crime content, and let me know which case you want me to cover next. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.